Hello guys, welcome. Welcome to another episode of Ripster Daily Trade Recaps and Teachings. Alright guys, a great start of the week. Going into the holiday weekend, superb start. Lot to discuss today guys. Before I do that, let me just do a quick introduction. For anybody who's new to my YouTube, new to my Twitter, or new to my community, these trade recaps and teachings are from any trades that we take in the community, any trades that ideas that I share on the Twitter, or any trade ideas that I share with you guys in the previous YouTube recaps, right? These trades or investment ideas that we take are based upon repeatable setups, repeatable system that I teach, that I've been teaching for years, and the system that thousands of traders use across the world. We always trade with these repeatable systems and setups. Every day before the market opens, me and my team, we go through all the news sources and we create a game plan for everyone. Today's game plan is right in front of you. JP Morgan, JCI, Target, JBL, VIX, LI, Nvidia, Microsoft, Micron, P&W, Dell were among the plays that were on our watch list. So in addition to this game plan watch list, I also provide what we call as a daily levels for the traders. These are the daily levels. Today we'll see how these levels panned out specifically for the trades like Netflix and and Apple. So we'll review those levels as well. In addition, we also provide the levels for crypto stocks like Coin, MSTR, so that the traders can trade on their own based upon the repeatable system uses these pivot levels. Rules are pretty simple to trade these. You can pause the screen and read it, but I will also recap the big plays today from MSTR and Coin from these today as well. And in addition to that, I provide every day my strategy called day 2, day 3 trading strategy, which we find a lot of swings out of these. This is also good for the day trades, and I provide a list of these day 2, day 3 setups every day in the morning. AMAT was a big win from this one, our top day 2, day 3 setup. Not all of these will trigger. When I say trigger, means not all of these will break a resistance pivot and satisfy the volume and the rules, but when they trigger, they're usually a good winners, and we can trade those. So we will recap these as well. All right guys, I'm usually on the voice first few hours of the market open, and all my guidance on the trade ideas, market commentary is mostly on the voice. I also try to post whatever I can in the in our my alert feed, my dedicated feed. So I will show you my time-stamped comments and the game plan. What was the plan pre-market? How did we trade it? And how did we win or lose? And what did we learn from it? So we are going to discuss all that as well there, and then we will then you obviously you can't I can't show you what I was saying on the voice, but you can pause the screen and see how the setup worked and what was my comments, and maybe you can learn something from that, and we can learn something, and we can improve. All right, that being the introduction, let's go start today's recaps. The first big winner we're going to recap today is VIX. So what was the plan on VIX? Let's go back, look at our market game plan, which can actually tell us about our game plan on VIX. What was actually our game plan? So VIX beats top line and bottom line estimates, raises F of fiscal year 24 guidance. Our levels of support were 147.50, resistance was 151. Bullish to neutral, I wanted some cloud pullback to long, but we also had a 150 level. So as soon as the market opens, I see it dipping, you see, right? So what was my resist support level, right? 147.50 or 146. So you see that this is exactly around the area that I gave is where it pulls back, right? So you saw the level I gave in the pre-market, and exactly to that point it pulled back. Either you can take a starter on that pullback to the clouds, or you can wait. I did not take, I actually missed that, but when I saw it pushing over 150, so when it pushes over this 150 level, that's where it get interested, that it confirms the long. So now let's look at my time-stamped comments on this VIX, right? So VIX was like a home run win today. When I say home run, it was like $20 per share profit, risking $3 $4, easily. If you had risked $1,000, you could easily make $7, $8, $9,000 on this trade, based upon the risk reward. Also on the options, some of the options went from $2 all the way to $8. So if you are with the risk of $100, you could have make $800, or if you're risking $2,000, you could have make $6,000, $7,000. So that is the risk reward we are looking on these trades. Anyways, you can see my timestamp comments. As soon as I already showed you the levels. You see where it bounced right from where I said in the pre-market guidance. Right from that area is where we are bouncing from, and as soon as it pushes over our pivots, I say it's a long versus confirmed long versus 150. The first target I gave is 160, and I also on the voice I told that we could roll into some lotos like 165s, and then we hit 160 by 10 a.m. and then we continued to push, and then we hit 165 by 11 a.m. and then after that as always, we always roll with the profits, right? If you made some profits to 165, you roll. If you were shares, you can take your shares out, and maybe you can add some lot of options like 170 options or something. And that was my final target, and slowly we hit that target as well. 170 lotos hit 100% even when I was talking about the rolls. So you can see my timestamp comments, guys. You can see the pre-market plan. So as per the plan, defined levels, breakout, guidance, big win. Very proud of the community today. These are the kind of trades I love. In addition to that, this was a daily breakout. You could see the daily chart had a daily breakout. So that makes it an A plus setup. When you have a daily breakout as well, that trade becomes an A plus setup. Beautiful trade in the community. Let's go to the next one. Let's talk about JP Morgan today. So JP Morgan was on our watch list today. Let's go back and check out what was the plan. So JP Morgan, support was 205, resistance was 207.50. I told everyone only long if it moves over 205. Otherwise, there's no business longing under 205. So JP Morgan was already on our game plan not too long under 205, right? So JP Morgan was bearish right out of the gate. It was bearish into 10 a.m. as per the plan, fading 203. There was a support at 200. But the real fun started when the news hit. So we have our news bots in the community and our audio news bots, which tells us about any breaking news that we have. And in the middle of that, the news bot just told us that the CEO is saying they would not buy the stock at this price, right? You never say that. If you're CEO of the company and if you are saying that your stock is overpriced, because that's what you mean when you say we are not going to do a buyback at this price, then investors will lose confidence in that. And you look at the sell-off on JPM. We traded 300% ATR, and the volume traded was 200%, and it was all day fade. And even after the news, and we were scalping, and I told everyone you can scalp the news, but do not size too much. Wait for the bounce, right? I took personally, I was 50% to 100% on these 200 options, but those options went on to go to 400%, right? So because you see here, it never reclaimed the clouds. And there's a biggest thing to learn here today: 200 psychological level. Once the 200 psychological level was gone, that was it, right? That was it. There was not really any support left in JP Morgan. And not only that, I also tweeted about this as well. So let's see what I was saying. So if you see that when I gave this tweet news to all my followers, so I said, Diamond says we will not buy back the stock. What CEO says such things? We are already breaking the bear flag, right? And then we are trading. I'm trading these 200 puts, which went from 80 cents all the way to 140 under $1.50. Sold some at $1.75. They went on to go on to $3-4, right? That's why I say low can go lower. So when I say when stock can't get over 512, that confirms your short. And I was out of the short. I took my 100%, but I said still heavy, still bearish. You can short, watch the bounces, riding the 512 clouds down, and then as soon as 200 breaks, it fades further. As I told everyone, The first target will be 197.50, gap fill target, keep the runners. And that was a huge trade for the community today, as well as the Twitter followers, as I showed them the real-time guidance. Because once the Ripster clouds are saying hold, there's no business trying to long it or trying to get out. I didn't have a big size, so whatever I had I scaled out. you know Yes, I should have re-added. I could have re-added, but I was happy with my profits, right? Because it was a big trade regardless. But the point is, these kind of trades you never long and you short when you see the breakdown, and the 200 breakdown, and you can see the whole community was trading it in the community. The frying pan did really nicely. Bunch of other traders in the community really did good. Raga did 50% on 200 Ps. Prakash did really good. So, I actually went on the voice on for this trade, and that was really nice. That was the opportunities we look for as in the community to capitalize on such breaking news, and we have those tools, and very proud of this trade as well. Small sizes, lot of sizes, and you trade the breakdowns. And if you followed me from the morning plan, which was do not long under 205, you did really good on JP Morgan all day guidance. Beautiful move. Make sure if you're in community you are not missing on the morning game plan. Next one we're going to quickly look at is LI. Let's go back and see what was the plan on LI today. So LI deliveries, vehicle deliveries were less, so it was bearish news. So I just simply knew it's going to be fade today. I have a history with the LI. It always fades. It's always a good fader on a bad news. So that's why I told everybody short the pops. So that's it. It opened at 2260, went on to fade to 2079. I can show you my time-stamped comments here. I took like 60% on the puts, and maybe I think end of the day they did hit 100%. But you can see here there was a morning trade. I told everybody to short, see if we get the pop, but there was no pop, and LI was a short all day until it curled over this level, right? So it met all of our targets today. So pre-market guidance on the timely alert guidance, beautiful trade. Love these setups today. These are the kind of setups you need to capitalize on, bearish setup. So let's go to the next. So that was another one which was that we nailed today was GLBE. So GLBE was another earning play. It had a decent earnings, revenue increasing, and it was gapping up. But I told everyone in the pre-market that it's extended from the clouds. Watch B minus fade to the clouds. I already told this to everyone in the community in the pre-market. I already told that. And once I saw the weakness, I was more leaning toward, if it doesn't break the pre-market high, to short it. So I said on the watch, push over 3450s, otherwise B minus short. As soon as the push failed, it breaks 512. I told everyone B minus short should fade to the clouds, hit our first target 3130s, right? Then if it breaks the 3450 clouds, it's gonna fade more. My next target was 30, and it pushed there, and then it bounced. When it bounced to the clouds I covered, I was out, but it did give another opportunity to short again when it broke down again. It was basically bearish all day, and by end of the day it did meet my 30 target, but I was out in the morning because this was pretty choppy action, fake out action. If I try to trade it the rest of the day, yes, you could have added short here, but you would have to, if candle moved over, you would have to stop out here at 512s, then you should hit it again. So after the morning move, it was just the law of narrowing oscillations. The oscillations become smaller, and it did finally hit my target 30, right? But I said good covers. I'm still looking to push to 30, and I was out of the short. It later down the road it hit my 30, but I was happy, right? 33 short, covering 30, 50s, 31s. That was enough $2 short for me there on GLBE. So next one we're going to look at is GLBE. So sorry, not GLB, we already covered that. Next one we're going to look at is Tesla. So next one we are looking at is Tesla. So for Tesla, let's go back. Pre-market plan, it had some news. I said only long if 177.50 holds. Only long if 177.50 holds. Right, so that 177.50, when it was breaking down, right away I knew it's bearish. I gave a warning, no long bearish, so it's a short and you do not short it. And then even people wanted to buy, I gave them a warning, do not buy it, do not buy it. And if you try to buy Tesla, that's what I teach again and again, don't care about it bouncing. It's a B minus C minus setup, I don't care. I will rather trade a bullish setup like this. I'll rather trade long this than trying to chase the dip this is actually a safer bet long than Tesla, right? So understand the difference. But anyways, you can see Tesla gave the plan, gave the levels. The target I gave was this 173.50 area, so it was a nice more than short, it was good. We saved money not going long on Tesla. Let's go to the next one. So next one on our watch list was EH, guys. So next one on the watch list was EH. So let's look at EH, what EH was doing. If I go to the game plan, if I show you the game plan, EH had a earnings and the gap fill under 20, long over it. So I already told everyone that this is the plan, right? I already told everyone there's a gap fill under 20. And as soon as the market opened, guys, and you see that, that EH was clear, the 20 level was clear. And this is not the first time we are playing this setup, guys. This is like hundred of time we are playing this setup, and EH breaks down under that, that level and fades. That's it, right? And I told everybody full gap fill versus 20, 1890 first short target, 1890 my first target, we meet here. Then I said next target 1757, and I told everybody to keep the runners for 18, and then we meet 18, and then next target was 1757, and we even meet that, and then even that broke down and we hit 1665. So look at that fade, guys. Wherever you entered, even if you entered late, you still would make like $2 per share on this stock, and risking what, maybe you risk 40 cents, 30 cents, but this was all day fade. You just had to hold with patience, risk on the clouds, initial gap. It doesn't really have to bounce on the gap fill, right? Because if the gap fill doesn't hold, it goes much lower. Watch my support and resistance webinar. I teach these concepts in detail. So looking at the Target, guys, so Target had lowered his prices on 5,000 items in the store. I told everybody only long if the cloud holds. And as soon as the market opened, I could see the weakness in the Target, and that's why I told everybody, that short Target. So short Target 157 was my first target on Target, and we did hit almost there. I actually locked, which was again, I should have kept some here because I didn't respect 512 clouds, but we were having such a good day, so I was managing all these trades on the other shorts. So I was no, and when this big candle pushed up, then I closed. But when it was rejected 512, I told everybody still heavy, and it's failed 512s, no long there. And even after that, again, this is the second trade you can take, right? We were in the morning trades, but you see that the bias, the planning, everything was correct. It's failing 512, you short here again, you put stops on your 10-minute candles, and then you fade it again from 158.50. All you need to do is put your stops, let it work, and patience. And once 512 breaks, it goes again. My 157 target met an all day fade to the low of the day. All day fade to low of the day was the target short. So beautiful guidance, guys. You can see my timestamp comments here, and and we had a planning, we had a pre-market planning, and Ripster EMA Clouds leading the way. So another good trade this morning. Let's look at a loser now. So we'll look at a SMCI, which was a loser, but I did tell everyone not to hold under 900. So SMCI was a long idea pivot break versus 900 on the pullback, expecting the pullback to hold, took the 900 longs, but it broke down right away, and that's where we stopped out right under this 896 level, and after that it was a short. I gave everybody the warnings. I mean, it's a 900, and from 900 it faded all the way to $870. So long was a loser. I didn't short it, but as I always teach, you can always change your bias and shift the trade to the short side. Without a catalyst, I didn't really want to short it, but you could see if you held how much money you would have lost if you did not respect this area of the stops. So let's look at Micron now. So Micron today was on our game plan. So Micron game plan was gap fill under 127.40, long over it, and as soon as the market opened, Micron pushed over the pivot level I gave you, pushed over the clouds, pushed over the pre-market highs, and it was a good long. This was not my trade, was a trade in the community. A lot of traders were trading it. I think RGV was on top of Micron as well. You can see RGV was long on that starter Micron. All day guidance by RGV in the community on Micron. Beautiful, beautiful trade. Well done. I quickly want to recap one of the trades which was on the game plan. I did not trade it, but just for the teaching purposes, I want to recap it. What happened? That one, that was JBL, right? So if I go to the plan on the JBL, plan was a bearish bias to short the pops. That was the pre-market bias. But here's what I will show you on JBL. So what was happening in JBL? So now you see that, right? It's the levels. If I go back to the levels on JBL, 107, 108 and 1014 were kind of two levels. As soon as this candle pushes, there's no short, right? You first candle you pushes, that's the warning, because we want to see a candle reject to short it. This is not a short. And when it pushes here, you see the second candle holding the 512 EMA clouds. That's actually a long, and you do a starter long here. And then next candle opens higher, then you long that, when it's making the pivot from the 1 hour, that's confirmed breakout, and your stops are here, and then you long it. So pause the screen, read carefully what I'm showing you here. So this is very important, how to manage these trades which are gapping down and they are bouncing on you. So it's very important to manage these trades. So that was a JBL, how to manage a trade on JBL. So next time you're trying to short a gap down, I have covered this concept many times in a lot of my recaps, but just wanted to talk about this particular one, that how you can change the bias, right? You can see the ATR is $4, right? So big ATR, and today it moved 300% of ATR. News on JBL. So let's news. So that was the news on JBL was. Let's see if I can find that for you guys. Let's see. So they had withdrew the guidance, right? News was definitely bearish, but you can't be bearish just because the stock is gapping down. You have to manage the bias. So just wanted to teach you guys. Let's go to the next one. I'm going to quickly cover Boeing, not going to spend too much time. You guys remember from Boeing was my breakout idea from Friday. If I go back to my Friday tweet on Boeing, so you can see that, right? So let's see. So this is the idea I gave you, range breakout. Like I'm showing you right here. The stock was trading at 183. We traded in on Friday for nice few 100% on the lot options. The stock broke out 84. I told everyone that we are swinging, right? I told everyone we are swinging, and for this week's call. And this morning, Boeing further broke out and hit 187. My target was 190, but then market became heavy, and we did hit 188, and then 512 broke, and then we took our profit. Little short of the target, but very profitable trade, guys. So these are the kind of setups I encourage everybody to find yourself. This was simple setup. A lot of traders on Twitter made money on this, right? I think I covered it on Thursday as well. So very simple setup. Boeing, beautiful trade, beautiful swing winner. You didn't really. One trader pinged me. He didn't even trade today. He made money on BS swing from Friday, and he closed the day. So beautiful trade. So next one, I'm going to look at AMAT day 2. So if you don't know about the day twos, watch my previous recaps or watch my webinar on day two, how I cover the day two setup. AMAT was a number one, day two, day three setup, 212.65 to 13.54. So if you see here, it broke the pivot, pushed to the bullish side, it became bullish. So that was a long. Just like how I teach you on those setups on AMAT. Pajama was on trader, our pajama trader, and the community was long on AMAT. Big Papa, newbie. So all these traders are learning. So they didn't even wait for me. They were already long and telling me about the long on AMAT. And AMAT became to ran from the pivot I gave. What was the pivot I gave on that AMAT? The pivot was 213.50. It went on to run to 221, right? The first target was 218, this area, Friday's high, and then 221. So you easily could have made $6 to $5 on this trade. And beautiful execution. Traders in the community, as you see, a lot of them were talking about it, about the AMAT. Well done. Shout out to everyone who did that. Very proud of you. This another trade was there by Daniel, one of our level one trader. So this trade was by Daniel, which was one of our level one trader, and this was a breakout. This was a 52-week breakout. 52-week breakout. The news was on the GLP. The news was on the GLP, the obesity news, and so you see the HIMS was a good trade, right? This was the guidance on trading floor. So HIMS was very solid. There were so many opportunities today, guys. I can't even, there was so much going around, and I expected more people to be green today. So we were like 18% people red in the community, but I guess more people turned green later in by end of the day. There were just so many opportunities. You just need to stay away from the market chop. A lot of these semiconductors were losers for the community. We were trading SMCI because today was not the day. Today was all about these earning setups. All right, guys, let's quickly look at DELL and see what was our plan on DELL and how did that work out. So let's go back and see the DELL. The plan was, so let's look at DELL. Let's find the So plan was DELL. JP Morgan had just upgraded it. I told everybody to trade it versus 150 over under. So that means long over 150, short under 150. So it was a long at the open. It was working nicely, but then when it breaks this 150, then it's a short, right? So just it's a short. So you could have longed it, and maybe amateur move, you take the profits at the open. But once it's breaking 150, you switch short. Not my personal trade, but I just want to point you out, show you how you could have managed a trade, right? Upgrade doesn't really mean that it's going to keep going to the moon. Yes, we like the upgrades. Upgrade is a bullish news, but always give first preference to your technical system rather than blindly follow. We never buy. If this breaks, we don't buy. Maybe we short, maybe we don't short. And in this case, I might not have shorted it, but just wanted to recap the action and then try to push, fail back again. So just a recap on DELL from the watch list. So let's look at some of the big movers at the open. So Microsoft was a big push, big mover at the open. When I was talking about it. Apple was a big mover at the open. Netflix was the mover all day. And if you go back to the pivot levels that gave everybody today, Netflix, 624, Microsoft 421, Apple 189.60. They were just super strong, and Netflix also had a middle of the day news and upgrade as well. I talked about that. But Apple was the long idea that I gave everybody versus 189. So that was my long idea that went on to hit to 190.91.20. So that was a nice trade for the community as well. Microsoft, I did mention, it's a beautiful it's the strongest name. It was also on our game plan today. And Microsoft, there was a good news, and I told everybody to check the level sheet, right? So that's how we were, you trade these setups. You trade anything you like. So Apple had a bad news, but it recovered, and that's why it was a long versus 189. So you see the importance of the pivots. That's why I provide these pivots. Some of the traders don't even trade anything else. They stick with the daily plays. So quick look on the coin and MSTR. Our community just killed these two today. MSTR and coin, everybody was on top of it. EI Venture was on top of it, and Steve and Sid in the morning told us about the flag, and the coin was same. So this is the reason I give these crypto levels every day for day like this, right? So coin breakout was 212 to 1150, and MSTR was 1614. And if you see the coin, even if it didn't give that breakout earlier, but it gave a breakout later, right? And after the breakout, it never looked back. So it's on the high watch for tomorrow as well. Coin, we will see what it does. And then we have another one, MSTR. This is the crypto play. It went crazy on that on since it broke our pivot. And then there was CLSK. So you see how they turned bullish, right? Bearish, and then something happened or something came out. I have to check, and they turned all bearish or all bullish. And I told a lot of people that you can swing some of the coin and MSTR because Bitcoin is bullish, right? So I did tell everybody you can swing some profits on cryptos. Not a bad idea to swing those profits. So beautiful, So that's how you trade the opportunity. So tomorrow will be high watch as well, and so we will watch it tomorrow. So the last one we're going to quickly discuss is airlines, right? No, it's not the airlines, the cruise lines. So cruise lines had a news which I didn't. I saw the news late, so I kind of missed that cruise lines news on NCLH. NCLH had improved the guidance, right? So NCLH had improved the guidance, and so I told everybody super strong, watch all the cruise lines. So it was not in the game plan. I was a little late with this news, but look at this, right? CCL push, pull back to the 512s, push all day, right? So look at RCL, push. I told that everybody 9:30, and all day it ran from 145 to 150. RCL, one of my favorite names in the cruise lines that I like to trade, right? And then there was a CCL, and then there's, of course, there's NCLH. All day trend, airlines, all day cruise lines. That's why we stay on top of it, guys. So many opportunities, guys. You just have to have a proper risk reward, small sizes, and you see that every day in day out we have opportunities, right? This is the reason that as a community, and we're doing this good, and there's no hindsight, right? I'm showing you the things before and after, and of course I show a lot of my trades as well. Today had a bunch of our trades going 100%, 50%, and if I'm on trading the shares, I show those as well. So yes, so hopefully you guys learned something today and understand why this was a big day for us. And hopefully, if you guys want to trade with us, Memorial Weekend sale is coming for our community. Come join. Don't come for the alerts. Come for great trading platform and a lot of ideas and tools. Take care. Bye bye.